The bitterest truth is not that you didn't try, but that you gave your very best, and the result still wasn't what you truly deserved. Think back. How many nights did you stay up late, filling pages with notes, reading and rereading each line? You spent hours, sometimes weeks, stuffing knowledge into your head, hoping it would stay. Yet just days later, you realized with shock, everything slipped away as if it had never existed. You've walked into exams or stood before a presentation, your heart racing, only to feel everything you reviewed vanish, leaving an empty void. And what hurts most is not just forgetting facts, it's the crushing sense that all your effort meant nothing. Meanwhile, others, who seemed to study less, were moving forward with ease. They received praise, recognition, admiration, while you stood silently in the back, asking yourself, where did I go wrong? Am I not smart enough? Or maybe I was never meant to succeed. That feeling is like a scratch on your self-worth. It makes you doubt yourself, compare with others, and sometimes even fear. If this keeps happening, I'll always be left behind. But the truth is, you are not lacking in intelligence, nor in willpower. The problem lies in this. The brain was designed to forget. It must erase countless little things, ads on the street, fleeting conversations, just to avoid overload. The irony is, this very mechanism also sweeps away the knowledge and skills you desperately want to keep. Here's the good news. Once you understand this, you can trick your brain. You can train it to hold on to what truly matters. And in today's video, I'll share with you 4 methods, both scientific and practical, drawn from the book Exam Brain Science by Professor Yuji Ikegaya, known as the Doctor of the Hippocampus. So, if you don't want to remain in the shadows, if you don't want your hard work to keep slipping away, stay with me until the end of this video, because by then, you'll discover the keys to transform your memory, from a silent betrayer into a loyal ally. One that helps you remember longer, deeper, and only what you need most, for your own journey of growth. The human brain wasn't designed for learning. It was designed for survival. And that's why you forget so quickly. You might wonder, if the brain was built to forget, then how can we possibly learn and remember for the long term? That very question is what gave birth to the book Exam Brain Science. Its author, Professor Yuji Ikegaya, a neuroscientist at the University of Tokyo, has often been nicknamed the Doctor of the Hippocampus. The hippocampus is a tiny part of the brain, yet it acts as the gatekeeper of memory, deciding what gets stored for the long run and what gets discarded. The brain prioritizes what relates to survival and lets the rest fade away. That's why you vividly remember the sting of a burn or an emotional day, but easily forget yesterday's lesson. It may feel unfair, but this very mechanism has kept humans alive for thousands of years. So, how do we outsmart this gatekeeper? That is the core of exam brain science. After years of research, Professor Ikegaya distilled a set of methods so simple that with just 10 minutes a day, you can retain up to 90% more than the average learner. What makes these methods special is how gentle and practical they are. They weave naturally into daily life, explained with a playful, relatable style. Knowledge no longer feels dry or overwhelming. It becomes a life skill, transforming memory from a silent betrayer into a loyal ally. And in this video, we'll explore the 4 methods Professor Ikegaya recommends. 4 smart ways to help your brain truly hold on to the things you want to remember. Secret number 1. The brain only opens the door to memory for what is. Repeated. Have you ever wondered why you can clearly remember the sting of a boiling burn, yet completely forget what you learned in yesterday's class? It doesn't mean you have a bad memory. The real issue lies with a gatekeeper inside your brain, the hippocampus. that decides which memories are allowed into long-term storage. Every day, thousands of pieces of information come knocking. The text you just read, a billboard on the street, a passing conversation, even the lecture you listened to so carefully. And yet almost all of them get rejected. To the hippocampus, information that appears only once isn't convincing enough to be deemed vital for survival. Over a century ago, scientist Hermann Ebbinghaus proved this through his famous forgetting curve. Right after learning, you may remember almost everything. But within 1 hour, nearly half is gone. After a day, only 1/3 remains, and after a week, almost nothing is left. Human memory is like a leaky jar. If you don't pour water back in at the right time, it dries up. So how do you outsmart this stubborn gatekeeper? The answer is surprisingly simple. Repeat at the right rhythm. Professor Ikegaya suggests a powerful review schedule. You only need to remember 4 milestones. First review after 2 days, second after 1 week, third after 2 weeks, and the final one after 1 month. Each review is like watering a seed. With every drop, the roots grow deeper, the stems stronger, until one day it becomes a tree. At that point, the knowledge is no longer fragile. It has become a part of you. Now, compare the two approaches. One is cramming through the night before an exam. Information floods your short-term memory, only to vanish within days. The other is gentle, steady repetition. Just a few minutes each time, yet the knowledge takes root and stays with you for years. Which would you choose? That is the power of the first secret. Slow and steady soaking. You don't need endless hours of stress. Just a few minutes of timely review, and you'll be learning smarter than 90% of people who exhaust themselves cramming, yet remember so little. Secret number 2. Curiosity awakens the brain's waves. Do you remember the first time you took apart an old watch, just to see how it worked inside? Or that thrill of turning each page of a storybook, eager to find out what would happen to the main character in the next chapter? In those moments, no one forced you to study. No one told you to memorize, yet every detail stayed with you so clearly that years later, you can recall them as if it were yesterday. That is the power of curiosity. Neuroscientists have proven that when curiosity sparks, the brain triggers a special mechanism called long-term potentiation, LTP, a kind of bridge to long-term memory. In simple terms, LTP allows the brain to expand its capacity, forging stronger neural connections. This is why, instead of slipping away, information gets anchored deeply. Even more fascinating, when we are curious, the brain produces what scientists call theta waves. These waves act like rhythmic knocks that swing open the door to memory. And once that door is open, even a single experience can etch itself deeply into the mind without endless repetition. That's why you might forget an entire dull meeting, but still remember every scene of a movie you watched with excitement. Look at children, and you'll see this power most clearly. A 3-year-old doesn't need anyone to push them. Every day, they ask hundreds of questions. Why is the sky blue? Why does it rain? Can I eat this? Their endless curiosity fuels such rapid learning that adults often stand amazed. We like to say, children are blank slates. They absorb everything. But the real magic lies not in a young brain. It lies in the fire of curiosity. And what about adults? Once we step into work and responsibility, most of us learn out of duty, because of exams, degrees, deadlines, or a boss's request. Learning becomes a burden, and the brain reacts coldly. This is not vital for survival. Let's forget it to make space. Without curiosity, without excitement, the doors of memory close. What turns dry information into living, lasting memories is the flame of curiosity. The good news is, you can reignite that flame at any time. The simplest way is to practice asking questions as you learn. Don't just ask what, but also ask why and for what purpose. Why does this matter to me? How does it change the way I work? Where can I apply this in my daily life? Just a few questions like these are enough to flip the brain's deep memory switch, just like a 3-year-old, endlessly curious about the world around them. It's no coincidence that geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci carried extraordinary memory and creativity all their lives. He constantly fed his curiosity, spending entire days watching the flight of birds, studying the veins of a leaf, even observing the tongue of a woodpecker. To others, it seems strange, but for him, curiosity kept the brain open, expansive, and alive. Leonardo once said, "Just as eating without appetite harms the body, so learning without desire spoils the memory." A simple sentence, yet it holds a profound truth. So instead of forcing yourself to learn out of heavy obligation, nurture your curiosity again. Treat each lesson as a piece of a grand puzzle in the adventure of discovery. When you truly want to know, memory will etch itself deeply, without struggle, without strain. Secret number 3, learn like a lion. It may sound unusual, but scientists have discovered this. The very moments when lions remember and react best are also the times when the human brain is at its sharpest for storing information. So what does a lion's memory teach us? There are 3 key traits, and if you apply them, you'll notice a powerful change in your own memory. Hunger. Sharper awareness. When hungry, a lion becomes alert to the smallest signs. The scent of prey, a patch of grass disturbed, the way the wind carries news of danger. Hunger forces it to observe closely and remember accurately, because survival depends on it. Humans are similar. On an empty stomach, the body releases special hormones that stimulate the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, to work harder. That's why you often focus better studying before a meal, compared to after eating when blood rushes to the stomach and the brain feels heavy, sluggish. Think of the last time you ate too much and tried to study. Didn't you just want to collapse on the desk? But with a little hunger, the mind feels sharper, clearer. Movement, waking up the brain. A lion never stays still before a hunt. It paces, walks, scans the horizon. In those moments of movement, its brain becomes agile and alert. Humans too have discovered this instinctively. Many students unconsciously walk around with a book, reading aloud as they go. Or perhaps you've noticed, learning feels easier on a bus ride with its gentle sway. That's because movement wakes the brain as if preparing to hunt. Even a simple walk while reciting notes, or listening to a language podcast while jogging, can boost memory far more than sitting still for hours. Cold. Natural alertness. In the chill of the wild, lions must stay sharp, for danger may strike at any time. And so it is for us. You'll often find it easier to study in a cool, breezy room, or when the air carries a slight chill. Too much warmth, too much comfort, and the brain drifts into rest mode, making you drowsy and dull. A touch of mild discomfort from the cold, however, can act like a natural stimulant for memory. These 3 factors, hunger, movement, and cold, all tie back to survival instincts. And whenever the brain believes something is tied to survival, it stores it more deeply and powerfully. Apply this in your own life, and you'll see the difference. Review new words before dinner instead of after. Study while walking instead of sitting still. Choose a cool, airy space over a cozy, warm room. Just a few small shifts, and your memory can transform dramatically. Secret number 4. Memory is bound to emotion. When the heart is moved, the brain remembers. Have you ever wondered why it's so easy to forget the details of a long, tedious meeting, yet impossible to forget the moment your loved one first held your hand? Or why all the dry numbers in a report vanish quickly, that the first time your child called you mom or dad is forever etched in your mind? The answer lies in a tiny yet powerful region of the brain, the amygdala. It's the emotional center, sitting right beside the hippocampus, the gatekeeper of memory. And here's the remarkable part. When the amygdala is activated, it can trick the hippocampus into believing that this piece of information is critical for survival. The result? That memory gets permanently stamped into long-term storage. Think about your first love. You may have forgotten countless tests and dull lessons, but you likely still remember that awkward first touch, the shy glance, or the tearful goodbye. Not because you tried to remember, but because emotion carved it into your brain. And so, the lesson is simple yet powerful. If you want to remember deeply, you must learn with emotion. When reading a book, don't just skim the words. Imagine living alongside the characters, feeling their joy, their sorrow, their struggles. When studying history, don't stop at the dates. Picture the battlefield, the drums, the tension, the fear, and then the explosion of victory. The numbers become anchored to a vivid, living story. When practicing skills for work, don't see it as a chore. Imagine yourself on stage, the audience's eyes on you, the applause ringing out. That surge of pride will lock the skill into your memory far more deeply. This is just as true for children. A child may forget dozens of dry instructions, but they will always remember the warmth of praise, the comfort of a hug when they're sad, or the sting of a stern scolding. Every strong emotion becomes a landmark in memory. You see, memory isn't only written on paper or in textbooks. It is written in the heart. When you learn with emotion, the brain no longer distinguishes between survival events and classroom knowledge. It simply says, "This matters. Keep it." So don't just learn with your mind. Let your heart join in. Then every piece of knowledge becomes an experience. And experiences are very hard to forget. You see, your memory has never betrayed you. It simply needs to be nurtured in the right way. And if you're still here, still listening now, that means you've given yourself a rare gift, patience, and a true love of learning. But remember, if we keep learning the old way, memories will still slip away, and all our efforts will easily fade. On the other hand, if you start with just a small shift, just a few minutes of review, a spark of curiosity, a moment of learning tied to emotion, you'll be amazed at how memory turns into your ally, helping you progress more gently than ever. And as your memory improves, you'll notice something else. You'll feel more confident, more compelling in the eyes of others. Because a person who can share ideas clearly, remember deeply, and speak with emotion always draws people in. If you've stayed with me until the very end of this video, know this. You belong to a very rare group. The ones who dare to invest in themselves, who dare to go beyond easy habits. And I truly believe you deserve that recognition. So if this video has brought you value, give yourself a small gift in return, a gentle like, and hit subscribe so we can continue this journey together. I'll see you again in the next book, where we'll open another door to knowledge in a way that is both gentle and profound.